This program is a production of the Panoply Network, a subsidiary of Pizza Plea Media.
Welcome to Whatever Happened to Pizza at McDonald's, the investigative journalism program where I ask the question, whatever happened to the pizza at McDonald's? I'm your host, Brian Thompson. Keen-eared listeners will have noticed that this program is now finally and officially a part of the Panoply Network. When Whatever Happened to Pizza at McDonald's first launched, it was but a lowly podcast and had yet to transcend podcast quality to become an investigative journalism program, or IJP. As such, I felt it was entirely appropriate when I received correspondence from a gentleman named Mark Panoply, who presented himself as the CEO of the Panoply Podcast Network. When he invited me to join his organization, I was somewhat thrilled. At the time, Panoply was one of the most revered and respected of all the podcast networks. And that was saying something, because when my show first began, podcast networks numbered in the high quadruple digits. Yet, none of them sported a roster as impressive as Panoply's. Among their many award-winning, award-worthy, and award-considered programs were InvestHead with Phil Town and Danielle Town, Crazy Enough to Work with Elizabeth Banks, The Story Collider, Stories About Science, Uninterrupted from Just Do It HQ, The Brave, The Next Generation of Activists, Clark Howard Podcast, Tempest, In Case You Missed Us Weekly, Empire on Blood, Get Trust with Us Weekly, Royally with Us Weekly, Flash Forward, Hashtag TBT with Us Weekly, Will and Grace and Kevin and Tara, Planetary Radio, The Walk, Tumon Bay, Haunted, When Meghan Met Harry, Dexter Guff is Smarter Than You, A Very Fatal Murder, Tomahawk with Joe Thomas and Andrew Hawkins, Family Ghosts, Battle Scars, BuzzFeed News Reporting to You, LGBTQ&A with Jeffrey Masters, By the Book, Malcolm Gladwell's Revisionist History, Life After, You Must Remember This, The Unexplainable Disappearance of Mars Patel, Why Oh Why, The Grift, The History Chicks, The Recapery, Bon Appetit Foodcast, Bad with Money, Adlandia, Hashtag We the People Live with @Josh Zepps, Harry Potter and the Sacred Text, Side Hustle School with Chris Gilbo, Happier Hollywood, Happier with Gretchen Rubin, Roads and Kingdoms, The Trip, Containers, Politico Off Message, Politico Nerdcast, The Pollsters, Uninterrupted's Dre Day with Draymond Green and Marcus Thompson II, no relation, Uninterrupted's Ozone, an unfair and partial sports podcast with Omar Miller and Terry Miller, Uninterrupted's Ball Girl Magic with Roz Gold Onwude and Yvonne Orji, Uninterrupted's Road Trippin' NBA, Uninterrupted's Road Trippin' Richard vs. Channing podcast hosted by Allie Clifton, Another Round with Heben and Tracy, Thirst Aid Kit, Adult SH Number 1 T, See Something, Say Something, Breakdown, Big Time Dicks, Serial, Dirtcast, Civics 101, Outside In, 10-Minute Writer's Workshop, Think Again, a Big Think podcast, Intercepted with Jeremy Scahill, Epic Old School Recaps, Two Spotted Dicks on GBBO, After Birth, Decoding Westworld, Wine and Roses. The Blotter presents Little House on the Podcast. Go Pirates, A Cast of Kings, Making the Sausage, Extra Hot Great, Film Spotting SVU, The Next Picture Show, Little Gold Men by Vanity Fair, In the Limelight by Vanity Fair, Living Ambitiously, Journal Report, Minute Briefing, What's News, Open Run, Watching Your Wealth, Your Money Briefing, Tech News Briefing, Money, Markets, and More, Foreign Edition, Potomac Watch, Heard on the Street, Free for All with Jason Gay, Money Beat, Off Duty, Media Mix, Speakeasy with Christopher Farley, Split Screen, Dead Cast, Detective, What the Crime? Unorthodox, The Most Useful Podcast Ever, Grub Street Podcast, Backstory, FP's The Editor's Roundtable, Life of the Law, Rolling Stone Music Now, Pregnancy Confidential, Selected Shorts, Let Us Tell You a Story, TD Jakes Podcast, Quiet, The Power of Introverts with Susan Cain, Switched on Pop, Getting In, The Path to College, Happy, Sad, Confused, Imaginary Worlds, We the People, Ink Uncensored, Intelligence Squared Debates, and, of course, Two Old Hookers on Catfish. Some of these podcasts are still going today, but most have ceased production, and their hosts have become legally classifiable as missing persons. But you can imagine how proud I was to include my own program among such prestigious company. I gleefully announced at the beginning of each episode that Whatever Happened to Pizza at McDonald's was a part of the Panoply Network, and I included a banner sporting the Panoply logo on my official artwork. But, I am sad to say, this association was built upon a falsehood, as made clear in this clip from Episode 5.
Yesterday, I received the following correspondence from Ava Lubell, General Counsel for the Slate Group, parent company of the Panoply Network. Mr. Thompson, I'm General Counsel at the Slate Group. I'm writing in reference to the podcast that appears to be entitled, Whatever Happened to Pizza at McDonald's. I noticed that you've made use of the Panoply logo and referred to yourself as part of the Panoply Network. Could you please confirm your formal affiliation with Panoply? If there is no such formal affiliation, we'll have to ask you to remove our logo along with the claim that you are part of the network. Best, Ava Lubell.
Yes, it is true. I was the victim of a confidence scheme. The gentleman who presented himself as Mark Panoply had no affiliation with the Panoply Network whatsoever. In fact, there is not even anyone in the Panoply family named Mark. Instead, this ruse was the work of an old enemy of mine, one Mr. Monroe Boswell, a mysterious and quite evil gentleman who has made it his life's mission to publicly humiliate me at every opportunity. The reasons are unclear, though I have come to suspect they originate during our time volunteering together at the Santa Juanita Small Animal Hospice in Sun Valley, California. But the truth is, my reporting his behavior had less to do with his dismissal than the behavior itself. It is specifically written into the contracts with the families of those terminally ill small animals in our care that we will afford them the dignity of a proper burial after their inevitable demise, rather than simply flushing their corpses down a toilet. But not only did my colleague Mr. Boswell repeatedly refuse to dig any graves in our campus cemetery so as to avoid going out in the hot sun, he also flushed so many guinea pig cadavers down the break room toilet that the clogging rendered it nigh unusable for its intended purpose. This kind of infraction was not only malpractice, but also self-sabotage, as Mr. Boswell, along with all the other volunteers, had to go out into the hot sun anyway to do our bathroom business in the cemetery. Thankfully, Mr. Boswell has not been heard from in some time, and I hope for the sake of the world that he has passed away. But there is finally a metaphorical light at the end of this figurative tunnel. In the years since I was forced to disassociate myself from my false association with the Panoply Network, the podcasting landscape has changed quite dramatically. The Panoply Network itself, which was owned by the Slate Group, was shut down and folded into a sister company called Megaphone. Megaphone is a podcast hosting and advertising platform, which in years past has serviced quite an extensive number of programs from white nationalist thought leaders like Michael Savage. Then, in the year 2020, Megaphone was purchased by the streaming audio company Spotify for $235 million. Now, the entire podcasting industry exists in a state of near total collapse. A combination of factors has led to this, including irresponsible venture capital speculating, massive overspending on near valueless companies like Megaphone, exorbitant salaries paid to celebrity carpetbaggers who are actually quite bad at making podcasts, and the decimation of the podcast advertising market due to E. coli outbreaks at HelloFresh and an untenable number of Casper mattress suffocations. Of the nearly 9,000 podcast networks that received over $100 million in startup money in 2018, only the Luminary network is still profitable and thriving, and that is only because of a banking glitch that debits each of their 14 subscribers $372,000 per month. This is all bad news for hundreds of talented audio professionals who have become the unwitting and unnecessary victims of criminally negligent business practices. But it is good news for me, because the Panoply Network trademark has been abandoned for quite some time. After falling victim to the aforementioned confidence scheme, I moved on in my business life by incorporating my own podcast network, Panoply Media, which has produced this program and others ever since. But I admit to always feeling like an opportunity was missed by never officially being a Panoply associate. The brand may hold somewhere between zero and net negative monetary value, but its cultural value is still somewhat substantial. There are now millions of adults who spent their formative childhood years listening to Panoply programs like Quiet, The Power of Introverts with Susan Cain. And to them, hearing the name Panoply and seeing the familiar black, white, and blue logo brings a pleasant feeling of nostalgia. So, for their sakes, and I admit somewhat for my own peace of mind, I have reclaimed the abandoned Panoply brand. Now, the Panoply Network is a wholly owned subsidiary of Panoply Media, whom is hereby granted all accompanying legal authority thereto and forthwith. To metaphorically seal the proverbial deal, however, I would have to inform the ultimate power on the section of earth upon which I inhabit, the United States government.
Thank you for calling the United States Patent and Trademark Office.
Hello, thank you for contacting the Trademark Assistance Center. If you could please provide the spelling of your first name, last name, and provide a telephone number, please.
Certainly. My name is Brian Thompson. That's Brian Thompson, T, silent H, O, M, P, S, on.
Telephone number.
Oh, telephone number is 3.
Would you like to provide an email address? You don't have to. Are you the applicant?
Oh, yes.
And how can I help you?
Well, I was just calling to inform the trademark office that I will be taking over an abandoned trademark. There was a defunct podcast network called the Panoply Network. Are you familiar with the Panoply Network? They had several podcasts. Okay. Well,
No.
okay. That might be why they went out of business.
You-
Well, so they were bought by. I'm sorry.
uh-huh. Go ahead.
Oh, well, they were purchased by a company called Spotify, which is also on the verge of bankruptcy. So I consider the trademark abandoned, and I just wanted to let the United States government know that I will be taking it over for my own purposes.
Okay, so you're filing a trademark, and you're going to just file a trademark with that name?
I guess I don't want to file a new trademark. I just want to inform the government that I will be taking over an abandoned trademark. Is that a different process?
Yeah, but you have to file a trademark.
Oh,
You
okay.
can't just take it over. You have to file a trademark for it.
Okay. Well, consider it filed.
All right. All right. So everything's done is done on the website. So you can go to the website and do all that, okay?
Oh, okay. On the website. What is the website?
Mm-hmm. USPTO.gov.
PTO dot gov, G-U-V?
Gov. G. Yeah. G-O-V.
G-U.
G-O-V.
Oh, G. Oh, is in short for government.
Government.
Okay. And what does PTO stand for?
Patent Trademark Office.
Patent Trademark Office. Oh, that does make sense. That must be confusing if you work for the Patent Trademark Office and you're applying for paid time off.
Right. Listen, I know when I paid time off, so I got it.
Oh, I guess you've been able to successfully navigate that system. Okay.
Yeah, that's what it stands for. So USPTO.gov, you'll go to that site.
Okay. And what sort of information am I going to be required to supply?
So if you're using your mark in commerce, because you will have to be using your mark in commerce, that's between 2 or more states before it registers, you will have to provide proof of use, meaning if it's a service, acceptable specimens or any type of advertisement, brochure, website printout, or any other promotional materials that shows your trademark use for the service.
Okay. Okay. Well, I already put the logo on my logo for my program.
Yeah.
I've already put the Panoply logo on that, so I guess that'll suffice.
Yeah, so if you have a logo or anything like that, you want to update it, or I don't know if you're just trying to protect the name or a logo and name, but you could do both. If you have a logo, of course, we need the picture of the logo.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to do is protect myself from litigation. The companies that formerly had the trademark and abandoned it are just completely decimated financially, and I do not think that they have the resources to hire attorneys. But just in case, if they find some spare change in the couch cushions or something like that and want to pursue legal action.
Is it just abandoned or expire?
It has been abandoned for some number of years. I believe that the company sort of changed forms. They ceased being a podcast network a long time ago and then turned into some sort of a podcast hosting service called Megaphone, which was a completely different name, obviously. And I think that they were just providing funds for various white nationalist podcasts and things like that. But now it seems to be totally abandoned.
Okay, so that's just the steps. You have to go to the website and do the application and everything on the website.
Okay, great. I will get all those materials together and I will log on to that website, pto.gov. And thank you very much for your help. And I hope you continue to enjoy your paid time off when it comes around.
Right. Thank you. You have a great one. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Nice lady. Do you know what happened to pizza at McDonald's? Do you remember it? Please send all correspondence to pizza@mcdonalds@gmail.com. To support the show, please join my Patreon at patreon.com/pizza@mcd's for exclusive benefits. And for more information, including links to social media, merchandise opportunities, etc., visit pizza@mcdonalds.com. Thank you to my invaluable Patreon producers, Dan Dreyer, David Friedman, Grant Bacon, Jacob Ford, Joe Kajik, Kimberly King, Kyle Tarak, Nicole Besta, Pam Gabriel, Polly Egan, Wesley, Will, Andrew Duffy, Andrew Ahmed Rubin, Billy Jean, Brad Allen Thompson, Gerald Lewis, Jay Poop, Calvin Thomas, Can You Fly Bobby, Laurel Paul, Mel, Mitchell Kordick, Opus Mareshi, Paul Fu, and Ryan Guggenmoss. I'm Brian Thompson, investigative journalist.